December 5th, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart using the NinjaTrader 8 platform. This is what the chart looked like today. There was only the ISM Services PMI and the job openings that came out at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard, which is about right here where my cursor is. Didn't really create too much of a big move. Overall, the price action today and the markets were very choppy. It's kind of, you got some swing trades and some channels as well as some range. But the ranges were a little bit hard to nail down because it didn't make consistent highs. By the time it kind of verified some consistent highs, it didn't really, verify the lows. So it was just kind of like at certain sections, the highs were consistent, but they weren't consistent at the lows. And then certain parts, the lows, actually the lows weren't very consistent at all today, which made range or trading off the range is a little more challenging. I saw a total of, well, I took a total of 2 setups today, and I was fortunate to be profitable on both. One was a long and one was a short. I'm going to go through the trades right now. For the pre-market, it looks like things were just going to range, but did have a bearish bias. Now, this is just very, very choppy price action. I don't trade the pre-market. On the open, I do see like a new low, first entry short, second entry short, and I saw a bunch of these type of setups today where it's like a first entry, second entry, but it is a clean second entry. But the problem was it's not high probability for the main reason is the signal bar wasn't that good. The EMA was kind of shooting, kind of being midpoint. So you kind of had to rely on range rules, but even then the range didn't look reliable to me. So even though it's a second entry short here, this isn't a very good signal bar, so I had to skip it. Prices then continue moving. It's the same thing here. You have a new high, first entry long, second entry long, but this is a bad signal bar and it's below the EMA. But even if you weren't considering the EMA, what kind of range do you have here? It's kind of like at the low of the range, even broke below. So to go long is iffy on a, I don't know, kind of a weird looking, not confident inducing signal bar. Prices continue moving. It's just kind of side by side now. And as you can tell, this is just like 4 points of range right now. So even scalping feels a little bit dicey when prices are just like this side by side, and there's plenty of these doji looking candles. But it just tells me there's a lot of indecision in the market right now. This is where the ISM PMI services numbers come out. It flashes up. I'm not in any trade. I don't want to get involved in something like this. Prices move up. I think there's some kind of support here. I did see this green channel, but it broke through and it went up, and I thought it might have been trading into this yellow channel. And it's hard to contain the price action right here in a clean channel. Eventually, I drew this as potentially where price action was all going to be contained, but it didn't look very clean, so I wasn't too thrilled with it. Prices broke through. Now you think you see like a bunch of second entries, and you do, but the setups aren't very clean, so they don't really. Either the signal bar is terrible, or the setup's a little bit, I would say almost there, but not quite, because it's either below the EMA or it's against the overall bias. So you'd be counter trend trading. So just a little bit of a noise here today. Prices move up, drops around, and here I think I might be in a trading range, but even then this trading range is really wide, but it's the best I could do because I think there's some kind of resistance up here. It looks like there's some kind of support here. And here I think if this is truly a trading range, I have a failed breakout, but this failed breakout on this kind of ugly trading range doesn't give me that much confidence. Plus, there wasn't a second setup really to help reinforce a potential entry. So I just had to sit and wait. Chops around. It looks just noisy. And I do have a new high here. It's a first entry long. Pull back. Now this is actually, I think, a possible trade. The second entry long, it's a break after this yellow channel. It's one push down, pulls up, made a second push down, but it's also trying to test the highs here. So it's one attempt up, and I'm thinking here could be the second attempt up. So when you see this, on top of that, it broke 2 ticks below, then it engulfed the entire candle going up, engulfed the original signal bar. So although the signal bar wasn't the best, ideally it would have closed bullish and above the EMA, even though the EMA is sideways right now. It's just little extra things that help reinforce the idea to take the trade. This one I didn't take, but in real time I was thinking maybe there's a trade here. What I would have done if I did take the trade is probably put at the highs of this original signal bar, so it'd be right here. And I think I would have tried to take that and go for a quick scalp. And as you can see, I would have gotten filled and it would have filled. Would have gotten filled on the entry and would have gotten filled on the exit. But I just wasn't too sure, even though looks like there was some kind of like resist support here. So I just want a slightly better setup, but it was a possible trade, I think. Then prices continue moving up, breaks above this trading range now. It's starting to drift upwards. I think there's this green channel here. It's one touch, two touch, three touch. It has an overshoot here, and I was debating whether it's actually a little bit higher here. But I kind of liked it down here because it had a little bit more confirmation here. I treated this as an overshoot. Then prices move up. It's respecting the lower part of the trend line pretty well. And here it finally breaks out and it starts to reverse, but I didn't see any good clean setup. Technically, you could argue that this is a new low, first entry short, second entry short, and you could say, after the fact that, okay, now I'm going to take it's breaking out of this green channel, but this is a pretty strong move up. Even though it broke out, I would think it'd want to test the high. So seeing this and then seeing this, thinking, okay, now the second entry short, especially when it stops short of the EMA, to go short now feels a little bit risky because I want to see if price action pushes it back up. But I decided to do nothing. But if you took the short, I think it would have been aggressive and it would have worked in this case. The prices continue moving down, chops, and this is where I take my first trade. So this orange channel is being respected pretty well. It breaks out, and I'm expecting a test of this expect the test of this orange channel coming down. It made one attempt, and now it looks like it's about to make a second attempt. I like this trade only for the fact that it broke out of the orange channel. It's coming down. It should attempt to test the lows again. It's a small risk because it's a small candle, and it closed right below the EMA. So I did enter one tick below, and I got a quick scalp. If I'd gone for any more, I likely would have gotten stopped out. So I was okay with that trade just for a quick scalp. Prices then continue moving up. I don't have this purple line drawn yet because I thought it was a trading range after the fact. It comes around much later. I saw a new high here, first entry long, pull back, and this is where I reversed my thinking. Okay, I'm thinking this downtrend, maybe it's going to come back, but it already reclaimed pretty much half of the way back up. So it's pushing once, and it broke out of this yellow channel. It pushed up once, and I'm thinking at least it has enough power to try it a second time. So there might be enough room to scalp out before I hit this purple line. So I scalp out, I entered one here, one tick above right here, and I was able to quickly scalp out right before it hit the top. It's hard to see, but my exit is right where this purple line is. And I was okay with that trade. And it did make the new high, so I'm thinking the uptrend might have been played out, and if this is coming down, then it might be getting ready to come back down. But I didn't see anything to convince me to take a trade setup. It looks like it flashes, it chops around in this trading range, and then it does start coming back down. It also makes a lower high right here. Flashes down, bounces around. I see a higher low here. So technically, you made a count from here. It's a new high. It's first entry long, pulls back, makes a second entry long. But this second entry long is a terrible signal bar. Even though I'd already tested and made the new lows, perhaps if this wasn't so doji and actually closed above here, it might have, excuse me, might have convinced me to maybe have a trade or consider a trade because it could have also been a failed breakout. But then you have a higher low here. Unfortunately, the higher low, you don't have a higher low here yet. Here, you do have a confirmed higher low and it engulfed this candle and it pushes all the way up. So you would have to have entered, I would say, probably one tick above to feel confident because if you try to enter after the close of this signal bar, it feels too late, like the trade's already been made. Unless you were pretty confident it was a failed breakout and you're moving right back into this larger trading range. And I wasn't sure of that, so I left it alone. But I did see this as a new low. It's a first entry short, second entry short, made a triple test, and then it failed. So this second entry short, I would say is like an almost setup because it did trigger one tick below the signal bar. Unfortunately, it didn't break one tick above this guy. So when you see this, it engulfs it, but I would rather have this ticked at least one tick above, or at the least close with a body that's very bullish up here. So I know it closed above the open, but it closed right at the open. That made me pause. And then here, of course, it confirms, and it's also pushing back up now. So this is kind of like an almost setup. Had it just formed a little bit differently, I think it would have been worth a trade and confirming the failure on the second entry short. And prices continue moving. It gets very noisy. I mean, look at these candles, they're just side by side, very congested. There's no clean entry that I could see. I mean, you could find second entries in here, but it just feels dicey. Prices then continue, falls through, falls down on this yellow channel. It's testing whether the This purple range is true. It looks like it might be another failed breakout, but I'm a little more cautious going long because this is actually lower than this now and lower than this. So it looks like it's making lower lows every time and also lower highs every time. Prices then continue moving up. I'm very cautious and wondering if it's going to come back to the other side of this purple channel or this purple range. It gets very congested here. Technically, you have a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. It is bouncing off the EMA. It is testing one push up. It could be making a second push up, but this is an inside bar. So I didn't really like that, even though this is the signal bar here. Prices then keep moving, gets congested, comes back down. It starts getting kind of whippy, so I'm not really sure what to make of it. It does look like it's falling within this range, but you can just look at the size of these candles. The bodies are kind of at the middle, and it's just very, very side by side. Prices then move up. It does come back up and test the purple. So I'm thinking, okay, this could be the possible top of this range. The bottom's a little more debatable, whether it's here or down here, or even all the way down here. Because any 3 points you take, either this one here, this one here, this one here, there's no other confirmation. It only really touches once. Prices then continue moving down. It just gets whippy. I'm not too keen on this. And at this point in the day, I'm just thinking, I'm just happy with my 2 green trades. Maybe I'm just going to sit back and watch and not tempt fate. It gets, again, congested side by side, and then it gets to the last 30 minutes. And again, this price action just doesn't even look that clean again. Not that it doesn't look clean, it's just not very, it doesn't push out in any one direction. It's just very indecisive. And as you can see, the EMA is chopping right through the middle of all this price action. So you have candles above, candles below, candles above, candles below. So you immediately think, okay, I'm in a trading range type of day. That's great, except the range isn't very consistent. So you have maybe a range at very small sections. You want it ideally to kind of like confirm and touch pretty well up here. So you already have a kind of a noisy overshoot here, but on the bottom side, you don't even have good consistency. You only have one touch that really doesn't confirm that you're in a range. So prices then continue chopping. It goes into the last 10 minutes and then just kind of goes into the close. So it's kind of how I saw the charts today. It was kind of a noisy day. I wouldn't say it was difficult, but it didn't yield that many trading setups though. So hopefully that was helpful.